Okay, the first session was with respect to economy. Second session I have discussed few questions on environment. Okay, one question we have discussed on international relations, map pointing, etc. And in today's session we will be taking a very important topic which is called as the current affairs, on what is the role of current affairs in the examination preliminary. Okay, and how many questions have been asked, how to tackle the current affairs questions, etc. And I will take a component today, one important component of the current affairs, and with one component we will try to connect most of the wings. That is, today we will take natural gas, today we will take shale gas, today we will be taking crude oil. So with this we will study about the national. That means whenever we will start our batches regularly, and whenever I'll start the current affairs, how is that we are going to discuss the current affairs in our concord prelims. It's not like something which is in news today and we'll take it and not doing any research from the past 1.5 years why it is in news, then I don't think so you can fetch the marks. Even though there is an issue which is in the market or in the country or could be international, and if you're not reading that entire thorough background, it is very difficult to answer the current affairs questions. Current affairs definitely plays a role of somewhere around 10 to 12 questions. Okay, that means you can easily score 20 marks directly, which includes your IR, which includes organizations of India and the world, which includes map pointing. If you are perfect in current affairs, okay, then you should be in a position to answer at least 7 questions. There are few questions which are being covered very moderately. That means like the toughness of the questions is quite moderate. As you go forward, the toughness of the questions will increase. So how we will discuss current affairs in our regular classes is what you should understand. We will be taking a component. I'll tell you today how we are going to discuss in the same way. Like first I will be taking a component. The component is being natural gas, I told you. The component being the crude oil. The component being the shale gas. Okay, petrol and petroleum products. So when we take these products, when we take these important products, we will try to interlink these products thoroughly. First we'll study about these products, first point. Second point, why are these products in news? And third important point, role of India and connecting to the rest of the world. Whenever I teach you economy, whenever I teach you environment, whenever I teach you map pointing or current affairs, ensure that you always carry map pointing. I mean, like, you always carry atlas. Always attend my class with atlas. Even I am teaching you economy or environment, doesn't matter, your atlas has to be with you. Alright, so that whenever I take current affairs classes, I will be teaching you thorough the background. I will teach only one topic, natural gas today, and you will see how much content we will study with respect to natural gas. It's never ending. And along with map pointing, major areas of natural gas, major areas of crude oil, petroleum products, and India's reserves, proven reserves, okay, India's strategic reserves, all these things we will cover along with map pointing. So that is how you should read. When you read about natural gas, you have to read about everything. You have to read about the relation of USA and Venezuela. You have to read the relation of USA, Venezuela and India. Okay. So in this way, if you could cover, you will have a complete 360 degrees knowledge of one particular topic. If someone talk you about the crude oil, if someone ask you about, okay, natural gas, you should be in a position that where is India importing from, how much we are using this imports, for what is the purpose we are using, which is the department which is involved, which is the ministry which is involved, what is ONGC Videsh doing, okay, with how many countries ONGC Videsh has a correlation. Second, what is OPEC, what is OPEC plus, do US has any role in OPEC and OPEC plus, why did you form, you already have OPEC, you have OPEC, OPEC, Organization for Petroleum. Okay, there is an organization for petroleum we will discuss today. And OPEC, there are few countries which have come across this OPEC and they have formed OPEC plus. So he may ask you in exam like what is the need to form OPEC plus. Okay, is there any strategic role of United States of America? So countering United States of America, did you form OPEC plus? So when we read about natural gas and crude oil, when we go in a flow, you will clearly add all the things. in your pocket with respect to departments, ministries, Maharatna PSUs, everything we'll discuss. Natural gas means done, close, map pointing, departments, okay, and strategic locations along with the choke points. In map pointing, I have discussed about the choke points, important choke points. With respect to today's natural gas, we will be discussing about Panama, we'll be discussing about Singapore, we'll discuss about Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so we'll discuss about the Red Sea, we'll discuss about Libya, Algeria. So when we discuss about all these kind of countries, you will have a clear idea about the map pointing, the institutions, the organization, etc. Okay, that makes you the topic as 360 degrees. So that is how I'll be teaching your current affairs classes. That is how I am going to deal the current affairs classes. I will take a small component. It looks very small like petrol, crude oil, air turbine fuel, high speed diesel. I will take motor spirit. I will take natural gas, LPG, LNG. I will take all these components. If I take one component, you will have a thorough idea. The thorough idea being department, ministry, where you import, where are you exporting, or if you put any strategic locations, which are the locations which have been involved, etc. Is it clear? So whenever a question is being asked, you are not supposed to miss these questions at any cost. That is how we will study. And we will target important areas. So this is about the mentorship program which I have already told you. Okay, this is a tracker which I have made. It took a lot of time for me to make for all the subjects. So this tracker, the people who are already joined, a good number has joined. So people can go to the office and I will hand over there. You people can take this tracker. Okay, I think from Monday or Tuesday you can collect this tracker. So ensure that you bring this tracker every day. So this tracker is for every subject. For every subject I will give this tracker. Okay, what is this tracker about? I'll just spend 2 minutes, then we'll go into the subject. The tracker is about where are you standing. For example, if we take about environment, how much quantity of environment you have finished, how many chapters you have done, okay, how many NCRTs you have done, and where are you standing in NCRTs, where are you with respect to the NCRTs or the standard books. If the question is being asked, okay, what is your guesswork, what is the probability of clearing that question, are you in a position to guess 80% is 20, anything lesser than this, then you are falling into trouble. So number of revisions, recollection. So in detailed for every subject I have drawn, so that it will be very much useful for you to understand. Is display poinda? Nagaraj garu. It said next page ikkada. దీనిది నెక్స్ట్ పేజ్ ఉండాలి కదా. సరే, this is the tracker which I will directly deal with the students of the Concur Prelims. Okay, in the first phase we will target NCRTs. Even though you have studied the NCRTs, we will sit and we will discuss, and one to one we will discuss what you have studied in between the lines. In between the lines, it could be any subject, we are going to sit and we are going to make n number of revisions with respect to NCRTs. Okay, then once it is been done, ఇది ప్రతిసారి ఇదే చేయాలా? Once it is been done, we will go for the primary source. Again we will track with respect to the current affairs, okay, whether how much content with respect to the PIB or any magazines which you are doing. In between the magazines, if you are facing any issue, we will try to sit and track it down. Alright, next, what are the additional sources you people need to follow? Additional sources which you people need to follow with respect to along with the PIB. So one current affairs content, for example, the Hindu you will read, you will follow. Along with that, what are the other sources which you are reading? Okay. ఇది కొంచెం నెక్స్ట్ చేయండి వచ్చి. ఫిఫ్త్కి వచ్చింది డైరెక్ట్గా. సరే, ఇట్స్ ఓకే. Look, what does the tracker includes? Let me tell you. It includes how much is the content which we are going to study with respect to the current affairs for every subject. Current affairs for every subject, okay, along with your regular subjects. Once you are done with any of the book, any of the content, so we will sit and we will frame some questions. We will say from, for example, people nowadays they are carrying 9th class NCERT beta publication. So we will sit, we will discuss, and we will try to cover how much content you have studied from this. So anything you have a gap, we will try to close. That is how we will discuss for every subject. And almost around 1 to 2 weeks, I am going to discuss about the environment content. So on a daily basis, there is a track. That means what is that you have understood, and are you in a position to recollect? Okay. If a question is been asked, are you going to reproduce the question in the exam or not? So the intention of this tracker is to make you enable to have multiple revisions, one by one. So all the subjects NCERTs we will finish. Okay, then we will go for the standard book. Okay, then we will go as per the syllabus. Then we will add current affairs, and we will try to close the current affairs. Okay, next directly we will go into the topic of the current affairs today. See, if you look at the past 5 to 6 years of UPSC's prelims papers, 5 to 6 years of the UPSC prelims papers, okay, there is always a question on crude oil. There is always a question on crude oil, either crude oil or natural gas or shale gas. There is always a question on crude oil. That means in the record of UPSC, if you are perfect with the current aspects of these things, like the crude oil, the natural gas or the shale gas, there is one question which is always asked. Apart from this, you have to always remember about the ministry which is involved, and also the department, the respective departments which are dealing with this. Okay, who is responsible to provide the license within India, within out of India? Okay, what is onshore and what is offshore? In India, how many onshore sites we have? In India, how many offshore sites we have? This is how we will discuss, and this is how we will try to cover. Okay, next, if I take, write down, if I take a component which is natural gas, if I take the component which is natural gas, today's topic will directly take natural gas, crude oil, natural gas, crude oil, shale gas and choke points. 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 Okay, heard about this term shale gas? Heard about this term shale gas? Yes. Where do you get to see this shale gas? Is India a producer of shale gas? Which is the country which is largest producer of shale gas? Sorry, which is the country which is largest producer of shale gas? We have US, we have China. These are the countries which has good reserves. These are the countries which has good reserves of the shale gas. These are the countries which have good reserves of the shale gas. Do India have good reserves of shale gas? We do have, but we have to do lot of explorations. We have Rajasthan basin on the one side. Okay, we have Gujarat. In the Gujarat region we have Okay, Mumbai region we have, Cambay region we have, Krishna Godavari region we have, Assam region we have. So there is lot of potential of shale gas in our country, but it is yet to be explored. Yet to be explored means what? It is not easy to extract shale gas. Where do you get shale gas? Sedimentary. We get shale gas in the sedimentary, well settled patterns. Now, to explore this shale gas, okay, what is that we require? To explore means what? Extract. To extract these shale gas, what is that we require? It is not easy to extract the shale gas. It is not easy to extract the shale gas. Okay. So to extract the shale gas, remember shale gas is something like well settled gas, underground caverns, okay, and sedimentary rocks. And in between these sedimentary rocks, the shale gas is well settled. Rupturing of this shale gas is very much settled there. So you have to extract this shale gas from this well settled sedimentary rocks. So to extract this shale gas from the well settled sedimentary rocks, you have to perform a mechanism which is called as hydraulic fracturing or hydraulic fracking. Hydraulic fracking or hydraulic fracturing. Okay. So we need to perform a very important task which is called as hydraulic fracking or hydraulic fracturing. So this is a technology. He will ask you directly in the exam. The technology which is used for the extraction of the shale gas is hydraulic fracking, which means to extract the shale gas, shale gas is an alternative to crude oil. Please understand that shale gas is a very much good alternate to the crude oil. USA is very much settled with shale gas. USA is very much settled with shale gas. We have reserves of shale gas, and UPSC has already asked 2 times questions on shale gas. So we have reserves on shale gas, the first point. And to extract this shale gas, what is that mechanism we follow is called as hydraulic fracking or fracturing. Hydraulic fracturing or fracking, to extract the shale gas, we perform one technology. That means, for example, this is a well settled sedimentary patterns, okay, and in between you get to see the well settled shale gas. You have to extract this shale gas. It is not easy to extract this shale gas. Okay, we have to go for hydraulic fracking. That is means drilling vertically, then horizontally. Drilling vertically, then horizontally, so that this trapped shale gas can be extracted. So first you will try to drill vertically, then you will try to move horizontally, so that the shale gas which is being trapped can be easily extracted. To extract this shale gas, we first require water, a good amount of sand, certain chemicals, along with the chemicals we require a very important jelly like substance. Along with the chemicals we require very jelly like substance, and this is most important. A jelly like substance which is being sent along with this to extract the shale gas. And these jelly like substance is being extracted from guar seeds. Is extracted from guar seeds. G-U-A-R, guar seeds. Extracted from the guar seeds. So extracted from the guar seeds, the jelly like substance, and this is very much useful in extracting the shale gas. Now you use sand, you use water, you use certain chemicals, and you use which is called as guar gum. which is called as guar gum. UPSC has caught this term guar gum. He has given a question, guar gum recently seen in news. In which of the following areas guar gum is being used? First one, extraction of shale. Extraction of shale gas. And second one, this is being utilized in nuclear operations. To reducing the speed of the neutrons. This is how he will make the options. Which means most of them tend to have the mindset that this may be a well settled option should be the answer. Okay, so be very much careful. And he has also asked that guar gum is being used in making bags which are environmental friendly. Used in the making of bags which are environmental friendly. Environmental friendly practices, women empowerment, child development, malnutrition, hunger, atrocities. We are very much emotionally attached to them. And first we will try to search only those options. Okay, we are humans. So in such case, this exam is for humans again, which means you should have a good knowledge to extract the right answer. So what is the answer? Extraction of the shale gas. Okay, US has a good reserves, Russia also has good reserves, China also have good reserves, India also have good reserves. Most of the countries will look towards India. Most of the countries look towards India for the extraction of shale gas. The reason being, India has a good production of guar seeds. India has a good production of guar seeds. Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, these areas will produce this guar seeds. From the guar seeds only will produce guar gum. So maximum availability we have. India has a maximum availability of this guar seeds. So what is that you have to read here? Whenever you read about the shale gas, this is just a sample which I have given. When we start our actual current affairs classes, we will go into very much depth. This is just a 1% I taught about shale gas. There is so much thing which you will read about the shale gas, departments involved, countries, exports, how is the technology is being used. So we will not leave any topic. We will go into very much depth so that you can understand. Any question is being asked in shale gas, you can easily answer, or at least you should in a position to eliminate options. Clear? Now, shale gas is repeatedly in news, and he will ask you what are the most potential areas of these shale gas in India. And USA. What are the potential areas of shale gas in USA? In USA. Always remember, Texas is one region in USA which is predominantly well settled. Texas is one region in USA which is predominantly well settled with this crude oil, shale gas, etc. So you will find one option always, Texas region, which is very much good in the production. Now, when we take the second component, which is crude oil. So the crude oil component reserves. Then why do we have to read about the crude oil component? What is the most necessity? Because there is a lot of issue between USA and Iran. A lot of issue between the major important Venezuela and USA. And impacting this, what is the relation of India? Okay. So crude oil related, we will study about, today I will give you a little bit basics about OPEC and OPEC plus. Okay. Why do you have to form OPEC? OPEC plus 22 members are there, 12 plus 10. Originally this was formed based on the Baghdad declaration. Okay. So don't worry, when just listen to today's class, when we actually go with the components, every individual components I will take in the current affairs. Okay. Then you will understand. I will take one component as coal. I will teach you the entire areas of coal reserves in India, Okay, the exports, imports, what are the varieties of gold. We'll take one component as a bauxite. We'll take one very important component like lithium. So we'll discuss from where India is importing lithium. Okay, which areas, which is called as a lithium triangle. Okay, Chile, Argentina, Bolivia, lithium triangles. So what is that production? How much we are importing? How much we export? What is that we use lithium for? So all these kind of things, when we actually choose and when we pick one component, we will study the entire thoroughly of that particular component, and then we will go for the next topic. It's not like we will just take one component like Niti Aayog, we'll discuss few areas and we'll close and we'll rush to next. Neither you will get satisfaction nor I will get satisfaction. Okay, when we read the current affairs, we should read in a such a way that one reading is giving you a good knowledge and you are in a position to at least eliminate two options. That is how the probability of clearing the prelims increases. Okay, and whenever you read current affairs, make sure that you always have your atlas. Whenever we are reading lithium triangle, so open up Southern American countries and we'll try to mark. Whenever you are talking about crude oil, where do we export? What is the area that India is exporting, importing? Alright, what are the choke points associated? What is Tapi pipeline? So from which all countries have been involved? Okay, and what are the different ports? And do we have any bypass from Chabahar ports? So we will be planning current affairs in such a manner so that it will give you a basic knowledge of subject, map pointing, covering current affairs. Okay, and we will practice few questions. In the class itself, we will practice few questions that will actually make you some perfection. Now, when you take crude oil, okay, India is dependent on other countries. India is dependent on other countries, basically Middle East, Russia, Russia, where we get large components of crude oil. And in the Middle East countries, I have told you about the OPEC. What is basically OPEC? Globally, there are certain countries who are good producers of crude oil. Simple. There are few countries who are good producers of crude oil. So these countries formed one organizations. So these countries formed certain organization so that these organizations will decide how much should be the production, which country should produce how much, what is the supply and demand criteria, and what should be the prices, etc. So OPEC is occupying most of the Middle East regions and formed somewhere in 1960s, and being now, earlier Abu Dhabi was the quarters where it was headed. Later it shifted to Vienna, Austria. Okay. So OPEC is, what is OPEC? Group of countries who are good in production of crude oil, natural gas, etc. So these countries formed a group so that they can have a better trade. And this is OPEC and OPEC plus. What is this OPEC plus? Those set of the countries which are not part of OPEC originally and later they got added into OPEC plus. OPEC plus includes Russia, such kind of major countries. Neither in OPEC nor in OPEC plus you get to see United States of America. And from OPEC, I ask you a question. If it is OPEC and OPEC plus, when it is already OPEC is present, then why do you have to make OPEC plus? If such questions are there, it is only to counter United States of America, which is dominating in shale. It is to counter United States of America in order to, which is dominating in shale. Shale is countering the crude oil. If USA starts consumption from the shale, USA starts exporting from the shale, then the crude oil consumption, production and dependency will be much stabilized, controlled. So to counter that, these countries formed OPEC plus. OPEC, certain countries are there. OPEC plus, remaining countries are there. Overall, we have 22 countries. And the major among them, which is Saudi Arabia, which is Russia. So, African countries, Middle East countries, Southern American countries, Asian countries, extreme Asian countries, all these have come forward. And they know, if not today, they have been countered definitely by United States of America. So the reason for forming, sometimes he'll ask you, you already have an OPEC, why do you have to form OPEC plus? The reason is to counter United States of America, which will dominate further with respect to shale gas. Now USA and Venezuela are having certain disturbances. I'll teach you about Venezuela properly. I have taught previously in my economy classes clearly about Venezuela. There is one day that USA is going to do this with respect to Iran, with respect to Venezuela, in the future with respect to Saudi Arabia. So now these set of the countries will already have a group. Even though the Venezuela is part of the group, Venezuela has the world's largest reserves, which can produce more than 300 billions of barrels. More than 300 billions of barrels, whereas Saudi Arabia can produce 273 billions of barrels only. Saudi Arabia is somewhere around 270. First comes is Venezuela. Second comes is Saudi Arabia. USA somewhere around 9th. USA reserves are somewhere around 9th. We don't have India in top 10. We have India in top 25. Somewhere around 22 or 23 India's rank will be in terms of proven reserves. I'm not talking about production. I'm talking about reserves. Reserves means availability. Reserves means availability. Production is different. Production, then you put Saudi Arabia. You put Russia. You put Iran. Iraq. In terms of what? Production. In terms of reserves, who is largest? Venezuela. Now, there is, which is something, a term which is very important, which is called as petrodollarization or petrodollar. Petrodollarization. Petro, that means in this concept, whenever you are dealing with a crude oil, the most important currency which comes into the picture is dollar. Now USA is controlling completely Venezuela, and Venezuela has the world's largest reserves. But in production, it is nowhere near to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has a control on reserves. Saudi Arabia has a control on production. And Venezuela has neither a control on reserves, neither a control on production. The reasons behind Venezuela not having a greater control on production. The first important reason is you have been continuously in sanctions from United States of America. You are continuously under certain sanctions from United States of America. Second one, most of the time you were under economic crisis. Most of the time you were under economic crisis to explore. And third, and most important, your infrastructure lacks. Your infrastructure lacks in the production process. LACKS. Infrastructure lacks in the production process, not up to the mark to explore. So all this, what is the statement given by United States of America? That we are going to refine things. We are going to renovate things. So refine things or renovate things, but definitely you will have an upper hand. Your companies are going to invade there and try to bring new technology, new infrastructure so that it can explore crude oil and control the reserves and also control the production. So that when I have the control the reserves and production, Venezuela cannot sell the crude oil in its own currency, rather it can trade in only in dollar. This is one biggest reason. Now directly, indirectly, if you could see, India do imports crude oil from Venezuela. India do imports the crude oil from Venezuela, but not that high, because most of the crude oil we import it from where? Saudi Arabia, Russia, earlier it was Iran. So all these are more potential sources for us. Then why don't we explore more from Venezuela? It is mostly because of the infrastructure. Second, distance. Distance. The barrel rates or the imports which you take also depends on distance. So distance is one reason, and we have a good relation with Saudi Arabia, good relation with Russia and Iran, and we try to explore with these countries and we import. And most important, India has one very important PSU, public sector undertaking, which is called as ONGC. What is ONGC? Oil, natural gas. Okay, oil and natural gas. ONGC performs the activity within the country India, and ONGC Videsh Limited will take care of the explorations or production in other countries. ONGC Videsh is very much active in Vietnam. And although we have an issue that Vietnam has allocated us certain reserves, and that was countered by whom? China. Because it borders nearby China, so it was countered. So even though we have got those blocks and ONGC Videsh is working on it. And ONGC Videsh has two important locations where Venezuela has allotted to us, and we have a good stake, somewhere around 40% stake, somewhere around 20% stake in two important companies. And if the deal goes, infrastructure increases, production increases, we can also get some returns, because these companies lacks dividends to us. They pending on dividends. Dividends something like profits, because these are shares, the stakes. So what we will do, what are the locations that has been given to India, and we'll pinpoint them. Venezuela region. What are the locations? From what areas we'll try to import, and what is the route, sea route, and we'll try to pinpoint. Which means, in one way we'll do mapping, in one way we'll do current affairs, present scenario with background, and such kind of organizations like OPEC, OPEC plus, G4, G7, G20, what all we come across, we will try to put it to the map, and we'll try to make some mnemonics. Mnemonics are very, very important. So I'll be teaching you some mnemonics, which I'm famous for. So I'll teach you mnemonics so that you can remember in fingertips. So how you can explore them. For example, if I say ONGC, ONGC is Maharatna. Na? What are Maharatnas? How many Maharatnas we have? Maharatnas, Navaratnas, many Ratnas. Navaratnas means Navaratnal gavu. Navaratnas, Maharatnas and many Ratnas. Three important. Which are top? Maharatnas are top. Name few Maharatnas. Shale. SAIL. Shale. Steel Authority of India Limited. Shale. ఇట్లా గుర్తుపెట్టుకుంటే ఎగ్జామినేషన్ సెంటర్లో సేలా హేలా ఇట్లనే అయిపోతుంది క్వశ్చన్. సో ఆల్రెడీ I gave a code, na? SBIONGC. Shale, BHEL, IOCL, ONGC, NTPC, GAIL, Coal India Limited. Just remember mnemonics. We will do lot of mnemonics. African, Northern African countries, Southern American countries, East Asian countries. We will do lot of mnemonics so that repeatedly if you use, it could be easy for you to understand. India mountain ranges, etc. will do lot of mnemonics. Okay. Plus Petro Limited, HPCL, BPCL, plus power grid, plus one rural electrification, plus HAL. So we will take this topic when we meet actually for the economy. And if you are reading about natural gas, if you are reading about crude oil, we will not limit ourselves to one particular content. And don't correlate this with your GS classes. Okay. So don't come back and say that my polity is not done, my economy is not done, my environment I have not finished, so can I attend? So this will be taught from the basics, covering all the areas. Your GS classes will be different and this classes will be different. Alright. Next, for example, we were talking about crude oil. When we talk about crude oil component, okay, we'll take about purest crude oil. Where do you get purest crude oil? Purest crude oil. Purest crude oil will get in the North Sea region. And we get it in, I gave it name of a place in USA. Remember, Texas. The purest crude oil, we get it in the most important locations, two important locations. One is North Sea, second one is Texas. We get crude oil in Saudi Arabia also. It is not that pure when compared to these two regions. So, the purest crude oil, we get it in these two regions and they are good production, good reserves, but we don't import from them. Firstly, it could be a purest. Second, I just told you, we don't import much from Venezuela. What is the reason? Exactly. Distance will add to your import bill. That will again increase the prices of the barrel. Which means, here in the crude oil, the purest one being the North Sea and Texas. In North Sea, we have an index, we call it as Brent crude. He will ask you in the exam, Brent index. Brent index, which is seen in news, is related to which of the following? He will ask you the crude oil, coal, lithium. So lithium is very much convincing, because we try to explore lithium in India and we try to import lithium from this triangle. So lithium is most convincing. So what they will do, I have already taught you in the previous orientation, they will deliberately put one option which is wrong and that is in current affairs. That is the problem with UPSC. The problem is our exam and we are preparing. So that's the problem. And that's a trap which is made by them. So you always look at, there is one option they will try to put which is always in current affairs, and you will feel that I have read this some other area, okay, this might be the answer. So purest crude oil, we get it in the North Sea region and we have an index which is called as what? Brent crude. So the crude oil which you import from Saudi Arabia and the crude oil you get from North Sea, and you are saying the North Sea region, the crude oil is pure. How are you saying it's approved? Basically considering the sulfur content. Always remember, sulfur content will decide the pure and impurity of crude oil. Sulfur is a very important component. Less is the sulfur content, more is the purity. Less is the sulfur content, more is the purity. We import from Saudi Arabia, we send it to refineries. What do we remove? Sulfur content. Sulfur content or any other impurities what we have, we try to remove it from the refineries and we'll try to submit it to the petro stations. So these two areas, one is North Sea. You know where is North Sea? North. Where? United Kingdom. Nearby United Kingdom. Okay. You have the North Sea, Scandinavian countries. There you get to see North Sea. Alright. So we have the North Sea region. The North Sea region we get a purest crude oil. The sulfur content is very, very less. Which means what? No need of refineries. Just try to explore, produce and export. You don't have much impurities. And Texas region, you don't get in, you need not get in the sea regions. You don't get in the sea regions. You get in the terrestrial areas. So the large scale terrestrial areas we need to explore. Texas. And then submit it via coastal regions. Purest crude oil, less sulfur. Purest crude oil, less sulfur, less refining. Purest crude oil, less sulfur, less refining. When the refining is less, it is cheap. When the refining is less, it is going to cheap because it is not going to add the refining cost. So it is further trying to reduce the cost of refinery. And second, very important, North Sea and Texas, both are pure. Both are pure, and when compared to North Sea, Texas is more pure. Just in the points, content of the sulfur impurities differs. And more purity lies with the Texas region. We have an index for the North Sea, what you call that as Brent crude. Brent index. Next, Texas region, West Texas Intermediate. This was a question which I have discussed clearly in my economy classes, and this was a question which was asked directly in UPSC. Because it is very difficult to guess. Brent crude means you can guess at least. Brent index means you may not. West Texas Intermediate, WTI we call it as. West Texas Intermediate, WTI we call it as, is related to which of the following he has asked. He has given options like gold, coal, most of them are in news, crude oil and some other options, silver, etc. So these are the most important traps. This was in current affairs. And never West Texas Intermediate was in news. Crude oil was in news. And it is your duty to read these components in depth so that such kind of terminologies which you don't read in regular classes. That is the point. And that can be covered. And West Texas Intermediate of US region. North Sea region or UK region. North Sea region, Scandinavian countries, UK region, we have Brent crude. So these two are the most purest form of crude oil. From none of them we'll import. Okay. So we'll import majorly from Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, etc. Okay. Chalo next. Next. These countries like China and India, they are more dependent on Middle East. Countries like China and India, they are more depending on Middle East. They have to depend more on the Middle East for the imports of crude oil. So these Middle East countries are very clever. They knew that these countries are dependent, so they started to increase the premium. Per barrel, for example, 50 rupees for all countries. But for India and China, it is 60 rupees. Why? Gifts. Costly gift, that's it. 10 rupees extra. Why? Because you import more, no? And your dependency is very high. And you know that you cannot go anywhere. And we are the only source for you. So, chalo, pay more. And India and China are against this premium. This is called as Asian premium. Remember this term. All the terms are very important. Brent, crude, West Texas intermediate. Asian premium. Asian premium is an extra charge on the crude oil made by these Middle East countries, charged on the crude oil because of the more dependency made by India and China. So this is called as Asian premium. And India and China are happy with Asian premium? No, they are against this Asian premium. Asian premium will increase the crude oil prices. Is it true? Asian premium will increase the crude oil prices? Obviously yes. 50 rupees barrel to 60 rupees. Then it will increase. So what is that you learn? I'll just narrate it how we will read. When we read about shale, we have to read about completely. When we read about crude oil, we should read about completely about crude oil. Where do we import? Where do we export? And Russia and Ukraine were indulged into war. Russia, one separate class I will take. I really like Russia. So Russia locations, Russia disputed islands like Kuril Islands, etc. And Russia's north regions bordering to Arctic region, okay, where they will produce a large amount of natural gas. North region of Russia will take the atlas and will try to point out where are the important locations of Russia, will by heart those locations also from where the natural gas is being explored, and also all the areas of ONGC. ONGCs has relation with most of the countries, as I told you, Vietnam, Venezuela, etc. Where our ONGCs explorations are there, we will try to identify those important keywords, locations which have been given to ONGCs. That makes you actually perfect. And Russia and Ukraine are indulged into war. Obviously, US was with Ukraine. Okay, and Russia, how to counter? It started increasing the production of crude oil. Started increasing the production of the crude oil. When it started increasing the production of the crude oil, the supply of the crude oil was higher. Then what will happen to the prices? It will fall. It will fall. Then USA advised India. USA advised India. So not to import crude oil from Russia. It also advised earlier not to import crude oil from Iran. But we have some mutual benefit, diaspora is there, H1B visas issues are there. So looking nuclear reactor promotions were there. So looking at those things, we try to ignore at that point of time the Iran's relation. But now later, when it is in relation with Russia, we could not ignore, and we may not, and we should not. Three things. So we have a very cordial relation with Russia since 1940s, 1920s. So considering all this aspect, we basically, India is always against the war, and we did not support either Ukraine or Russia. We were much neutral, but we were slightly leaned towards Russia. So Russia offered us gifts, no? What is the gift? Crude oil, natural gas at lowest prices. When you get gifts, you should accept it. So, lowest prices. Lowest prices, then in general, who gets offended now? USA. USA try to stall these imports, stating that you will get a better deal. Do not go for this with Russia as of now. But India tried to proceed so that it can import the crude oil from Russia. And India started to import crude oil from Russia at the lowest prices. Then USA has come up with a sanctions of not using dollars in your trade. Was it my currency? Don't use dollars. India said, okay, we will not use dollar. It's the best chance I can use rupee. there is a concept which is called as internationalization of currency. Internationalization of currency, where India was looking at a chance, and if you start trading, whenever the currency, India's rupee is not an international currency as of now. When you start trading with other countries in terms of rupee, when you start trading with other countries, in your presence, in your absence, most of the time dollar is been traded, pound is traded, okay, euro is been traded, in their presence and absence, then it is called as internationalization of rupee. So Indian rupee is not yet internationalized. So this is one best offer for us so that we can make this rupee as an internationalized. So we started to trade with Russia in rupee, in our own common currencies, Russian currency and Indian currency, making use of two bank accounts. What are those called as? Nostro and Vostro. Where is crude oil? Where is crude oil imports, etc. Where is these bank accounts? Nostro and Vostro. These are the two important bank accounts which are maintained with India and Russia. So he'll ask you, Nostro and Vostro are related to which of the following? These are the two important index to reduce hunger. Recently index to find out migration, trapped kids. So emotions anni okkarupothe ingodi idu kuda undachu kada, and we will try to be in trap. So these are what? Bank accounts which are in relation with Russia and India. So you should remember, when you read about crude oil, when you read about lithium, when you read about any of the component, make sure that we will collaborate all the current affairs from past 1 to 2 years. When you put it, this is how I read, this is how I produce. We'll bring India, we'll bring mapping, we'll bring the locations, we'll try to point out the mapping, and we'll try to bring international relations, we'll try to bring any of the organizations. That is how you read. If I put all the organizations at one point, chalo, read today G4, read today G7, it is very difficult to remember the countries, and you will forget in the next class. One class ki validity ante khatam adi. If I ask G7, G4, G20, ఏం చేస్తారు? సైలెంట్ ఉంటారు, తెలియదు అంటారు. సోషియాలజీ కూడా మేమేనా, ఇప్పుడు కూడా మేమేనా, మమ్మల్ని ఏనా టార్గెట్ చేసేది మీరని చెప్తారు, అంతేనా? నో. సో హౌ వీ షుడ్ రీడ్ organizations, you have to read it in as a form of a flow so that you can understand why this organization is related. So what is that organization which is related to today's class is OPEC. So why did you form OPEC plus? That's it. Because it was evolving with the concept of shale gas. When you read in this way, let them ask any question. You will be in a position to understand the context, that why this organization was formed, and we will definitely make mnemonics so that we can easily understand. Okay. Next, most important, how can he ask you reserves? For example, match the following. Match the following. World's largest reserves. World's largest reserves and ranks. Put them into chronological order. This is world's largest reserves and the ranks. This is one format of question. Put them as per the chronological order. This is one form of question. And reserves, areas. This is one very important question of UPSC. Reserves, crude oil, natural gas, crude oil, natural gas, lithium. You look at the previous papers, this is how they are asking, like areas, important areas. Important areas, places, country. Which means it is very difficult to read and by heart them. But trust me, when we revise them regularly and we try to recollect them regularly, what we have studied, that's what I have told you in the mentorship, the track, what I have said. Like when we meet after 2 to 3 days in the class, when we start, when we take that record, when we try to sit and talk individually, I'll try to sit and talk with every student, then we will easily understand that where are we lacking and are you able to reproduce them to mark answer or not. That is very, very important. Studying is very important, and more important is application of what you have studied in the exam is very, very important in elimination options. You are studying and everyone is studying. You have studied important components, important institutions. You have studied like PSUs, Maharatna. We don't by heart just Maharatnas like everyone. We should study how the status of Maharatna has been given. What is the turnover? What are the profits? What is the contribution made by this particular Maharatna? Then Navaratnas, then many Ratnas. So if you could read in this way, then let us finish entire Maharatnas, entire PSUs, current affairs on one day. Okay. So current affairs, today's session, and I have made this today's sessions in very important way, so that how are we going to take the current affairs classes with component wise. Not like today, this is something is called in a newspaper, and you just bring newspaper and try to read, open the newspaper and try to read. Today it was in news, no background, nothing, then it is very difficult. When we are discussing about the natural gas, I could remember very, very important, two important areas which you should never ignore, that is Strait of Hormuz and Persian Gulf. When in terms of natural gas, Russia, USA occupies the top. Along with this, he will never touch Russia and USA, because he knew very well that student is well equipped with this Russia and USA regions also. That is how people by heart for prelims. Prelims ku chala chadvalsi vastadi. Prelims clear cheyadam, it's not that easy. You should have a very sound knowledge to read and to understand prelims. Prelims is not just eliminate the options with keywords. If just eliminating options with keywords, that would have been, then we would have put a board, clear prelims with elimination options, please enter. Just clear, just I will teach you only techniques. I'll put all the techniques. Technique number 1, right. Technique number 2, right. If such option comes, eliminate. We do elimination, but the elimination has to be cleverly done with knowledge. If we discuss about the natural gas, always remember most important institutions or the countries with respect to natural gas: Iran and Qatar. Iran and Qatar, Persian Gulf. Iran, southern region, and Qatar, northern region and Persian Gulf. Largest reserves. You don't find such kind of reserves anywhere in the world. Northern region of Qatar, southern region of Iran, these two lies in the Persian Gulf, most important for prelims. So even he will ask you about the terms, which means locations. These are the locations which are important for which regions. Exploration of which component. It falls into which region. Middle East. Alright. So when we read about one component, can you do this without mapping? Definitely we cannot. So we will start, I will arrange current affairs sessions for my students and regular classes. Now orientations are done. This is the 4th orientation I have taken, and when we will start our classes from next week, I will take first few subjects starting from environment, as I have told you. I will give you the tracker and you can collect the tracker Monday or Tuesday from the institute. And we will sit with the tracker and we'll try to explore where you are standing and how much you have studied for every day. This is one thing. We will brush you in such a way so that intention is you should get a good score in prelims, and I want you to clear prelims at any cost. And second, very important, you will be tagged with me for the next 2 to 3 months till your exam with this record. Even though the classes are done, you will always be in contact with me with this record, and I will be giving you a daily target, individual, not in a group, and we are connected with this record, and every day it is clearly maintained. The track, what you have done, what you have studied, are you able to recollect, how much are your scores with the repeated exams, and that is how we will test and we will go forward. Conquer Prelims is not about just teaching and sending you. Conquer Prelims, which the intention brought by the institution is to help those students to clear the examination who shortfall of few marks in clearing the exam. And this will go in a properly aligned if you follow daily the tracker. The regular classes will start from next week, and in regular classes only one dedicated every week or for every 4 days I will take one current affairs class. And I will be teaching you last 2 years the way we have just, I took about crude oil, I took about natural gas. The way we will take components, I'll promise you that I will be taking around 5 to 6 components like that, and we will bombard with 360 degrees everything like organizations, India's roles, or with the number of countries associated, headquarters, sea routes, map pointing, everything we will do. So that it will give an advantage to have a very good knowledge in that particular component. Current affairs, we will do 4 to 5 topics. It just looks, today we have done natural gas, crude oil, but there is so much thing to be discussed. This is just a partially I have discussed, but when we take the real topics, we will bombard with lot of content and we will try to explore more areas. Alright, chalo. So just a few components of institutions which I have taken, okay, and we will also by heart organizations, international institutions, or any sort of groups, any banks associated, any member country has been moved out. For example, Angola moved out from these institutions. It don't want to continue. Indonesia, it enters, it goes. So few countries doesn't want to have the membership, even though it is in OPEC. Because I told you, these are the group of countries which are together and they have certain principles. They don't want to go out of these principles. Now I want a particular group of countries to reduce the production. If the group decided, they have to reduce the production, irrespective of my economic crisis. I am in the crisis and you are not allowing me to produce more, to export more for profits. No. So that's the reason few countries do not want to get into the membership of OPEC. So in such cases, the countries which have moved out and their reserves means they are very much potential, and they are very much potential, their reserves. Qatar has this problem, Angola has this problem, Indonesia has this problem, Kuwait has this problem of entering and going out. So why do they do this? And list of countries and what are the reserves in these countries, we will do it. Alright, so any questions you have? Obviously. Any questions we have? No? Alright, so we'll stop. And will we meet? We'll meet with your proper classes. Okay? We'll post the schedule and no more orientations will be there. We'll post the schedule and take the content from them and we'll start the classes. Alright? Chalo, thank you.